A very good morning. So, students, in last class we were discussing about the case study and assertion reasoning problem based on the chapter current electricity. So, today let's discuss the next chapter and its assertion reason problems first. So, in next chapter, as we have the topic of magnetic effect of current, means whenever the current is flowing, how the magnetic field is created, we will discuss about that with the assertion reason problems. So one by one let's see the problem, and here on the screen you can see two of the problems are here in again from the chapter current electricity. So these two problems we will also discuss. After that we will start our chapter. So first 29 number question you can see, that is assertion is given. In meter bridge experiment, a high resistance is always connected in series with a galvanometer. So in case of meter bridge, first before that starting, as option A, B, C and D you are familiar with, but again I will tell you. Option A is assertion and reason both are true, and reason is correct explanation of assertion. Second option B is assertion and reason both are true, but reason is not correct explanation of assertion. Option number C, assertion is true but reason is false, and option number D, both assertion and reasons are false. So I think now you are aware of the options. So let's discuss now our question. So it is given, in meter bridge experiment, high resistance we are always connected in series with a galvanometer. So high resistance that we are connecting in series with galvanometer to convert it into voltmeter exactly. So that is the correct explanation here. Now for in the meter bridge experiment, as voltage drop, that principle we are using here, and for that we always need a high resistance through which voltage drop can occur, and that's why if we will connect it in series, then high voltage drop we will obtain. So assertion is completely true. Now reason, let's see. Reason is given, as resistance increases, current through the circuit increases. So as you know, according to Ohm's law, if resistance will increase, then current will decrease to maintain the potential of the circuit. So reason is wrong here. Whenever resistance is increasing, then that type the flow of charge carriers that disturbed, and if flow of charge carrier disturbed, they will not reach to the potential or plate at which they have to reach, then that's why current will decrease there. So here in our question, assertion is true but reason is not true, so it is falling in the category of option C. So option C will be correct for this question. Now let's see the next question. For 30 number question, assertion is given, in a meter bridge experiment, null point for an unknown resistance is measured. Now the unknown resistance is put inside an enclosure maintained at higher temperature. So the null point can be obtained at the same point as before by decreasing the value of standard resistor. So this assertion is again completely true, because if we will put the unknown resistance inside an enclosure maintained at higher temperature, then that time resistance of the metal that will also increase, and whenever resistance will increase, then due to that one higher potential drop we will obtain, and due to that one null point we can easily find out by using the standard resistor. So that's why assertion is completely true, and reason you can see that is given, resistance of a metal increases with increase in temperature, so that is also correct. For the conductor, resistance increases with increase in temperature, and also this is the correct explanation for the assertion here, because due to higher temperature resistance increases, and due to that one higher potential drop we are observing. So it means our reason assertion both are true, and reason is correct explanation for the assertion. So here for this question our option number A is correct here. Now these were two questions based on the current electricity and the instruments that we have just discussed there. Now let's start our next chapter, that is magnetic effect of current. So first question from there is assertion is given, magnetic flux density is a vector. Now students, magnetic flux density and magnetic field, these two things you are aware of this one. So exactly the H and B, two factors that we are studying. H is magnetizing field, it is called, and B is called magnetic field density. So here magnetic field density means the magnetic field that you are calling as B. About that we are talking here. So what is now the question? Magnetic flux density is a vector. So as you know, the magnetic field is a vector quantity already, and we are observing that in a particular direction, and magnetic field lines that are also flowing in a particular direction, they are representing the direction of magnetic field. So obviously this one is correct option for here. Now reason, let's see. Reason is given, magnetic flux is a scalar quantity. Now magnetic flux, that you know, it is the number of magnetic field lines passing per unit area of any surface, that is known as magnetic flux. So magnetic flux is not depending on the direction, it is only depending on the factor how many number of field lines are passing through the surface. So it means it is scalar quantity because it is only depending on the number of field lines, only quantity, magnitude it is depending on, it is not depending on the direction. That's why this reason is also correct. But as this reason is not explaining our assertion, the both are independently correct. So our option B will be correct for this question. Means both assertion and reason are true, and reason is not correct explanation of assertion. Now next one, 32 number question. Let's see, this is assertion is given, a proton and an electron are projected one by one with equal speed in uniform perpendicular magnetic field. The time period of revolution of proton is higher than that of the electron. So students, now you know for this one, whenever any charged particle that is moving in external magnetic field, then it experiences a Lorentz force, and due to that Lorentz force, its trajectory changes whenever it is moving in external magnetic field. So whenever any charged particle that is entering from a perpendicular direction in magnetic field, then that time it is performing circular motion, and for that circular motion, the radius of that motion can be calculated by the formula R is equal to QB upon MB. So we can calculate by this one, and it can be calculated by as the centripetal force mv square by r, that is provided by the Lorentz force qvb, and you can calculate r from here. So this can be calculated as, now I think this is just, we can change it, r is equal to now mv upon qb should be. And from here again we can, as here the circular motion we are observing, we can calculate the time period. So time period is what? Time taken to complete one revolution, and that will be total path completed in one revolution. Obviously that will be equal to circumference 2 pi r, and with which velocity it is moving. So that is the v, with which velocity is it entering in the magnetic field. Now r, its value is given here, we can use this value, and if you will put the value, we will be cancelled out and we will get 2 pi m upon qb. So this is now the time period that you can see from here. Just now we have derived the equation for the time period, and that was t is equal to 2 pi m upon qb. Now here let's come to the question. So question was, we have two particles, proton and electron. So in proton and electron, if you will compare the mass of proton and electron, then obviously mass of proton is greater than mass of electron. And if charge you will see, so charge on proton and electron both are same. So according to our time period formula, here as 2 pi is constant for both, q that will be also constant for proton and electron, and magnetic field is already constant, means time period will depend totally on the mass of the particles. So if you will see that, then for this question, just a second, for this question the time period is directly proportional to mass. So it means that the time period will be greater for that particle that's mass is greater. So obviously time period of proton that will be greater than time period of electron, because mass of proton is greater than mass of electron here. Now assertion, if it will given, it is given already, the time period of revolution of proton is larger than that of electron. So obviously our assertion is completely true, and that is satisfying our explanation also. Now reason, let's see. Reason is given, the time period of revolution of a charged particle in a uniform magnetic field is directly proportional to its specific charge. So that is not a correct thing. And also specific charge, what is this quantity? It means we are talking for the charge per unit mass. So specific charge is denoted by E by m. So if, or Q by m you can write it. So if you will see the time period formula, so again it is 2 pi m upon QB. So from here, if Q by m you will see, so time period will be inversely proportional to it, not directly proportional. It means our reason is wrong. So for this question, as assertion is true, reason is wrong. So it is again lying in the category of option C. So option C will be correct for this question now. Let's see now the next question. Next question here for the assertion, it is given, in a moving coil galvanometer, the magnetic field is made radial. So again this option is correct, student, because in moving coil galvanometer, why we are putting radial magnetic field? Because we need to produce maximum torque. So whenever maximum torque will produce, then galvanometer can detect even a small current that is flowing through the circuit. So as you know, the torque formula, that is tau is equal to mb sine theta. So in this one, we can produce maximum torque by three methods. Or also m is magnetic moment, that's value is Ia b sine theta. Also if number of turns are also present, then Nia into b sine theta you can write. Now you have a lot of method for the producing the maximum torque. First one is number of turns you can put very large, but as that will make the galvanometer very bulky, so we are not putting a large number of turns. Also eddy currents are produces there, so to remove that one, we are also not producing keeping the number of turns very large. Next one, current. So already here the torque, that is depending on the current. So for a smaller current even we need to produce maximum torque. So currents, that factor we will remove from here. Now area, the next factor. So area of the coil that we are keeping in magnetic field, that you can put large to produce large torque. But even if a large area we will put for the coil, then that will also make our galvanometer very bulky. And due to that bulky shape, again it will very hard to handle that instrument. So we are not keeping very large area. Next one, magnetic field. So magnetic field, that you can put very strong, or you can use strong magnet. So that's why we are using Horseshoe magnets in galvanometer, so that we are using to produce strong magnetic field. And last factor you can see, that is theta. So theta is maximum here for the 90 degree, as sine 90 is 1. So for that one, torque will be maximum. So if theta is kept as 90 degree, then that time the magnetic field is known as radial magnetic field. So it means to produce maximum torque, the orientation that you can change, and that orientation means orientation of coil with respect to magnet, we have to keep it always in perpendicular direction. And for that one, the radial magnetic field will produce and maximum torque will produce. And due to that one, in the galvanometer, we can easily detect even a very small order current without any difficulty. So it means our assertion is completely true here. Now reason, let's see. So reason is given, due to radial magnetic field, the plane of coil always remain perpendicular to the magnetic field. So it is not the again a reason for this one, because due to the plane of coil that is kept perpendicular to the magnetic field, we are obtaining radial magnetic field. So this is the reason behind the radial magnetic field. This is not the reason behind the perpendicular direction of magnetic field with respect to coil. So that's why our assertion is true, but reason is wrong here. So again the option C will be correct for this question. Now next one, 34 number question, that is assertion is given, magnetic field lines always form closed loop while electric field lines may or may not. So as you know, the magnetic field lines that are originating from north pole and they are terminating at south pole, but again from they are going from north to south pole from outside the magnet, but they come to again south to north pole by inside of the magnet. So it means they are just making a closed loop. You can see this is suppose wire magnet, this is north and south pole. So magnetic field are starting from the north, they are going to south, and again from south to north they are coming from inside of the magnet here. So here you can see originally it is started from the north and again it is terminating at the north. So it means it is forming a closed loop. But electric field lines, if you will see, electric field lines is given, they may or may not. So electric field lines basically they cannot make the closed loop here, because if they will starts to form the closed loop, then that time they will starts to violate the law of conservation of charge. So they are not making. So it means our assertion is true, means electric field lines may not form, but magnetic field lines always form closed loops. Now a reason is given. Reason is magnetic force is velocity dependent while electric force is velocity independent. So this is not the reason here exactly. Yes, if you will see the electric force, then that is equal to Fe, Lorentz force you have seen, that is Q into E, where magnetic field is QVB. So that is velocity dependent and this is velocity independent, but this is not the reason behind the our assertion. And also here the magnetic force that is depending on the charge here. So that's why our reason is not correct, but our assertion is already correct. So in this case again our option number C will be correct for this question. Now let's see our next question, students. For next question you can see 35 number question. So assertion is given now, if a beam of electrons passes undeflected through a region of space, then both electric and magnetic field must be absent in that region. So in this case here it is given, if a beam of electron that is passes undeflected. So as a beam of electron that will pass through both electric and magnetic field, it is not necessary that both fields will be absent in that region. It is depending on with which direction the electron is entering in electric or magnetic field. Like if the charge will enter in the direction of magnetic field, means with theta is equal to 0 degree, then that time the magnetic force that is QVB sine theta will be 0, and due to that force will be 0 and particle will not feel any kind of deflection because force is acting on that one is 0. So it means our assertion is not true. Assertion is wrong, means it is not necessary that the field should have to be absent there to just undeflect the particle. Now reason, let's see. So reason is given, presence of electric field and magnetic field in a region must accelerate a charged particle passing through that region. This is also not the correct line. It is not necessary that the presence of electric and magnetic field must accelerate any charged particle. If a charged particle will accelerate through the electric field, then definitely that will produce magnetic field. So we will not need two types of field there. We will need only one type of field. So it is not compulsory that presence of field that need to accelerate the charged particle and in any region. So means steady current, steady charges that are flowing, for that one it does not need it for the acceleration of that charged particle. So our assertion and reason both are wrong here. In this section our option D will be correct for this. Now the next one, let's see. Assertion is given, electrons and protons that are trapped in Van Allen radiation belt bounce back and forth from one end to another. So exactly this line is for the Van de Graaff generator. So in Van de Graaff generator, we are using a Van Allen radiation belt in which the charged particles are trapped, but here that are also moving from back and forth. So as you have understood in van just Van Allen generator or Van de Graaff generator, that was a charged particle we are using, and due to that charged particle, the movement of charged particle, induction is created. So proton and electron, both type of charged particle is obtained there, and that are always moving back and forth from one end to another end. So this assertion is completely true. Now let's see the reason. So reason is given: the path of the motion of charged particle in Van radiation belt is parabolic. So this is not the correct answer because that is linear, that is not parabolic. So it means our reason is wrong, only assertion is true. So again option C will be correct for this question. Now let's see the next one. So next question, assertion is given: the flux of magnetic field through any surface is always zero. So here it is given, means the magnetic flux that through any surface, that must be zero always. This is not the correct line. It is not necessary the magnetic flux is always zero. It will be zero whenever as you know, the phi is given by BA cos of theta. So when cos theta will be 0 or B will be 0, A will be 0, only in that way it will be 0. It means that if theta is 90 degree, then that time only it will be 0. So it is not always 0. So first our assertion is wrong. Now reason, let's see. Magnetic monopole does not exist. So in this case, as it is given, magnetic monopole does not exist. So obviously this reason is correct now for this question number 37. So it means that as you know, always we are getting any magnet in the dipole form. Magnetic monopole form we are not getting. So that is the correct statement. So for this one, I think we needed a new line here. For that one, assertion is wrong, but reason is true. Now next question, that is electromagnets are made of soft iron. So students, in this one section again we are moving for the material chapter, that was chapter number 5. Students, we have discussed a lot of accession region problem from the chapter magnetic effect of current. So some of the topics we can choose here from material. Also we have just discussed some of the questions from next chapter, that was magnetism and matter. So as a magnetic effect of current and magnetism and matter both are related by each other, so we can just study them together. So let's see some problems on that one or two problems we will see now. Some of the questions from that chapter only we will discuss, one or two questions. So here assertion you can see, that is electromagnets are made of soft iron. So as you know, electromagnets and soft iron both are different things here. Now in this case, so as electromagnets, for that one we need always a high retentive material and also low corrosive material. I think no, sorry, this we need a low retentive material for the electromagnets. Means whenever we will apply the electric field, only magnetic field will generate, and whenever we will remove that then for that case low corrosivity we will need. Means we will need such kind of material. For that one, hysteresis curve, that's area will be smaller. So obviously soft iron, if you will see, that is also falling in that category. So that's why we can make electromagnets by using soft irons. Now reason is corrosivity of soft iron is small. So that is also the correct reason here. Just now I have told you, for electromagnet we need low retentive and low corrosive material, and that is falling under the category of soft iron. So it means our reason is correct also, why we are using soft iron, because its corrosivity is small. So that is the correct explanation for the assertion. That's why our option number A is true for this one. Students, today we have discussed about our chapter number 4, and that's assess and reason problem. I think again it will help you a lot to prepare for term 1 examination, because that is again a problem for you to solve assess and reason in very clear manner and also with high accuracy. So I think this will all help you. Just today, let's end our class here with this topic. So thank you students for today class now.